Hope it was power here to review the Kamen Rider Revice DX Rolling Vistamp. So this is the technically first half of one half of our super form of Revice, as this allows both Iki and Vice to transform into Kamen Rider Jack Revice, the first of the actual Revice forms that aren't weird CGI amalgamations, as you can see the form right there. And here we have the Rolling Vistamp pictured here. I really do like the aesthetic they went with this packaging, obviously to fit with the paint roller aspect. And surprisingly, this is actually on this side of the box. I guess because they had to advertise that. Other than that, it's just all the same pictures, but the entire functionality of the Rolling Vistamp. So here we have the Rolling Vistamp out of its box, and as you can definitely tell, this is obviously probably the biggest Vistamp we've gotten. Obviously, because it's not a stamp, it's a knuckle duster paint roller. We will just get the comparison out of the way. So here's the Rex Vistamp compared to this thing. Obviously, it's a lot more wider and such. Like this thing basically just isn't even a stamp at all, which I don't mind. This is essentially, I guess, taking the spot of like the traditional second quarter weapon. Again, because this is a knuckle duster thing, which I do like overall. You know, like the design of it's pretty simple for the most part. We got the blue, metallic blue right here, obviously in the design of like Vice. And we got paint splotches in pink, yellow, and purple. I think that's supposed to allude to Volcano. Maybe. The texture of it's pretty interesting. As you can see right there, you get to see Vice's eyes and such. And obviously the front part is translucent plastic, which is why you can see the innards. And in the back, surprisingly for our power-up, they actually brought back the marbling, which this is, again, just the... When it's not a Revice stamp, the marbling's fantastic. The blue marbling is actually like present on the roller too, as you can see. But like this looks pretty good. And then as you can see here, the QR code for Gambarizing. And then the top here, you get more marbling, and you get this like nice jagged design, which is neat. Obviously, this is the slot you're going to put Vistamps in. You get a trigger button. Here's the magnet for Jack or Rowan. This one's definitely one of the more like tougher ones, which is neat. One of the more solid ones. And then, yeah, that's basically it. I really like the marbling in the back. It's very neat, and just spinning this is pretty fluent for the most part. So let's get through the sounds right away. So again, typical pull tabness, and I'm actually going to go over these sounds first, because essentially when you hold down the trigger, that's actually the activation for the Vistamp. This actually doesn't have a traditional activation sound. And as you can see there, there's just a simple like LED module that just flashes. It doesn't cover Vice's eyes. So after that, you get 3 more lines of Vice. So pretty neat that they decided to do that. And then when you just press the trigger, you just get a simple punting sound of the knuckle. And that, I think, is an actual authentic purple LED. And then when you just simply stamp this, that's what I did not want to happen. So basically when you press this, what the heck? When you traditionally press this, you get the stamping sound. However, whenever you twist this or press this button, press/hold, that's what activates the standby, because this vice stamp does not work like the traditional vice stamps where it's just simply from like a halfway, where like you just simply press it halfway through, because despite how sturdy this one is, this one does not work like other vice stamps just because of how this is. So I just want to warn people of that, because so then when you try to like just stamp it within the Revice driver and figure out why it doesn't do anything, that's why. You can spin this, which is neat. As you can tell on the third spin, like I think it cycles between, yeah, it cycles between 3 different colors, which is pretty neat. And then, yeah, so that's just gonna keep activating like so. So we're just gonna do the individual sounds already. It's gonna be split weirdly, but basically if you spin this up to 3 times, so we get the finisher standby. So you get the Rolling Rider punch, which is pretty neat. Again, I apologize for showing that way too early, but I don't know, I just feel like it kind of wouldn't make sense. Well, it would have made sense showing it after in the Revice driver, but you know what we do. So as I was explaining before, convolutedly, the transformation process of this thing is complicated because you first of all activate the stamp, then you roll this twice. Now you stamp. And just simply transform like so. I cut it off. So yeah, there we got the transmission of Kamen Rider Jack Revice, which I really like overall. I really like the standby. I just like how this entire thing works overall. And like, I'm surprised they managed to get something like this to work. Obviously, just putting the knuckle thing in the Revice driver is pretty cool, just because now you actually have a lever, like an actual lever. Even though they don't use this, they simply just grab it from the top and such. But if you want size estimation, this is literally, this is actually the same. This is actually the same width as Volcano and Bard Rex combined, which is interesting. But like, I generally just prefer, just how Jack Revice works. Just like, I think this one makes a lot more sense of being gigantic and such, and I think the color scheme overall, the black really does work well with the Revice driver, because the Revice drivers are like dark purple to begin with. And we have the magnitude of the Jack Revice symbol, which I think is supposed to be a vice for the most part. I'm not sure. Obviously, we have our traditional Revice driver sounds. Obviously, purple LED. I actually forgot to state that if you are familiar with the light pattern of the Revice driver, that's because this is using the same sensor as Bard Rex. Remix. Like, I just like how they managed to get this color scheme, or like, that light pattern to also work with Jack Revice. You know, it makes sense to reuse it. And we actually do have one more iteration of the remix, which you pull it out of the Revice driver, to which it still recognizes it, and then just press the trigger. So basically, because they gave you that ability, assumingly that just is like another punch attack, because again, they never used the remixes for these forms. We do have one more thing we gotta cover, which is gonna be complicated, because I struggled with this for some reason within the demo. So obviously in traditional sense, rolling does not work because of how it doesn't really align itself. However, obviously we do scan it from back here. That was too early. This is not going to go well. Oops, I did that. Yeah, so there, because this is actually, because these two actually share the same light sensor, this rolling actually gives this one Baki Baki, which is actually what Bard is. I don't remember what Baki Baki is. I thought that's something like chomping, something like that, but, it's nice that they gave us another Vistamp with the same sensor so that we can actually get that sound, even though it's convoluted. How you have to get it is just that the way I showed you to get it is kind of the easiest way of just not aligning the, struggling to align the two and such. And obviously just the fact that the two sensors are like clashing at each other and such. Because we got another thing that we had to show with clashing sensors. The two-side driver. What a fun story. Honestly, unlike Volcano, yeah, this one, yeah, obviously it wouldn't be able to go in. Like, it's, again, possible, but like, this one's a lot more atrocious just because of this one being chunky. Again, this one is oddly, like, I never had the issue of this one, like, of the signals, like, conflicting with each other. Basically, I will say, you want the hardships of me actually getting this to work, just watch the demo. Because this one's atrocious. Actually, I should, okay. I believe this one was done within the gun mode. So, again, if you just want the normal stamping sound, don't do anything to this thing. So just simply stamp it like so. And slot the beast in like so. And then, just like the show, you can roll this. Try trying to show the LEDs up here because obviously you can't see them. Jesus. It's really difficult trying to get this thing in frame. Obviously this still works like normal. So just simply slide it in like. So it cycles through the 3 colors, interestingly. I don't think that was supposed to happen, but it did. So before we actually get to the Gundaphone, we have to get to the last thing about this thing, which, before we get into that, that doesn't count. So, obviously with the slot up here, we can actually use Vistamps with this thing. So, obviously, if we use Rex, let me zoom out just a bit, and simply align this section of the Vistamp to this section, like so. So we'll say the stamp name, and then this will say energy. Obviously the same triple finisher. So obviously this just acts like the hammer, but now you actually get LEDs corresponding to the Vistamp, which is pretty neat. So another example, I would say right now the stamps that give you that light pink-ish color are Rex, Megalodon, and Brachio. And to do something different, I guess we'll use Eagle. So that's pretty neat, just getting green out of the Rolling Vistamp. And, let's just do Neobata, because you would expect this one to give you red, because it gives you red within the Revice driver. However, you can just cancel that by stamping that. But, yeah, it gives it a white LED. And that's because I think this is essentially acts like the Gundaphone, where it would only recognize the main 10 Vistamps and will not, essentially it would just kind of disregard all the other Vistamps into white LED. So that's why Bat and Bata, so despite Bata giving you a sound within Bard Rex, both of these, well, obviously Bat you would expect to be white, but Bata is also white. And then just to give you a rundown on the other ones again, so obviously Mammoth Terror are red, Lion and Jackal are yellow, Kong is orange, and Kamakiri is blue. And let's do another power-up. Just another white LED. And the thing I think I wanted to address is just, obviously, these are both Vistamps that can read Vistamps. So the issue here, I think I already explained it before, I don't remember. I had to wait for this thing to cool down. But the thing is that the issue with like Vistamps that can read other Vistamps is that when you put two Vistamps that can read other Vistamps together, their signals start conflicting, because obviously Bard Rex is programmed whenever you put in a Vistamp, when it's not in the Revice driver, to just do Bari. But then at the same time, this one is programmed whenever you put a Vistamp in it, it will initiate the energy sound. So essentially, it's the two signals conflicting at each other, and it just becomes a mess. As you can, like... See, that's how it's supposed to work properly, but, like, sometimes... But then, like, sometimes you get, like, Barbaride. But, like, see, this is what, like, this kind of thing. It's like, both of the signals sometimes will just conflict. So I think it's essentially, like, whenever you don't activate this, I guess. See, because this is not... So basically, let me explain that. So basically, the signal of Bard Rex is going through Rowan. Obviously, then the signal of Rowan is going through that signal tone Bard Rex to say Barbaride. To then, the Rowan Vistamp signal overwrites the Bard Rex symbol to initiate that to do its weapon finisher. And the weirder part is that I literally just discovered that for some reason, this thing can do the painting finish with the 2-side driver, which I, like, got on camera when I was trying to put this in the 2-side driver. So overall, this is just really weird, like, but really interesting of just, like, how convolutedly they made these Vistamps, because... Stop. Because the thing is that, I think, a way they could have just resolved this is simply not making these the same 2 light sensors. I think that's kind of the issue as to why we have so much overwrite issues. It's just because... These are... God, why is this button so easy to press? Like... I'm sorry about this explanation. We should just get to the gun to phone. This thing is really complicated because it's gigantic. So yeah, we get the same one as Bard Rex, so obviously... Yeah. You know, this time it actually makes sense. But yeah, overall my thoughts on the Rolling Vistamp is that this is a really unique Vistamp because it's not even a stamp, it's literally a weapon. That's also a transformation device, or trinket. And overall, I just think it's neat. Jack Revice, like... Oh, I think it's a fine suit, but, like, you know, it's one of those suits is, like, it's not bad. It's cool, but, like, I don't really have opinions. But, like, I do like the sounds this has. Again, I just like the compatibility it has with the Vistamps. Essentially, if you don't want the hammer, then this is, like, a good alternative, because it basically serves the same purpose. And just overall, it's a fun, like, knuckle duster weapon. But other than that, like this, like again, like this is not a flaw, but like just my only gripe about, it's not even like a gripe, but it's just like the only thing I have with this one is just like how weird, like, it just interacts with some things. Even though technically, like, for the most part, obviously with normal Vistamps it works fine. But, like, just the thing, like, this is not even to this is to, like, all the, like, you know, to the, how they work, having a Vistamp read Vistamps, like, I feel like they don't, like, I don't think it was necessary that these read the same signals. I would have just preferred if they were like two separate signals as a whole. I guess it's cheaper just to have the same signal, but then again, you have those issues of like being able to cheat your way through certain things, and like, you know, technically you don't, like, technically you can just like line this up with the Revice driver and it'll work. I managed to do that with Bard Brex in the demo because I just couldn't get it to work. Like, we can test it out right now, but like I don't think it's gonna work. Because I think the issue is that obviously there's just not enough room yet. So you can definitely see, like, let me just zoom out just to prove my point. Like, so yeah, that just proves that the top and the back signals, light signals, are the exact same. I just would have wished they found a better way of working that. But other than that, like, this is a fun Vistamp overall and such. I think this one isn't as difficult. I had to get mine off of Amazon Japan because at the time it was difficult, but like, I think now it should be easy to obtain. But I don't know. This is again a latter second quarter item. I think this is the only second quarter item within Revice. Wow. But yeah, I lost all of my train of thought. So that I had to do this review. So this is Power, and I'll leave you people. Bye. Wow.